is not the state in this conception is not a collection of its members. Past, present, and future. But an abstract entity, like for example Shell and BP. I mean, Shell has existed for a long time, its history goes back to the pre-colonial time. The Shell was a company as well as an army, a state in itself, I guess. But what was I going to say? So Shell doesn't die. I mean, it can cease to exist as a company one day, but it doesn't die as such. But its members obviously die. So the state own the property or the territory of the geography which belongs to the state. But obviously the state as an abstract entity cannot use that. It uses them through its members. So state cannot do anything. It does everything through its members, but its members don't own that property unless that property is actually transferred by the state through its members to a member or a group of those members. I think that's what he is saying. But for example, so in that sense, the state property is not a collective property of its members in that sense. So Australians don't own Australia. Only Australian state does, which is an abstract entity. This is different from older states, for example, where the property belonged to actual persons or the monarch or the other landlords. And even for example, in Islamic law, I mean, Islamic fiqh, for example, collective property or milkiyat amma, al-milk al-am in Arabic, or milkiyat amma in Urdu and Persian, that actually belongs to the people, all the people of that entity, not to any abstract entity. So that's actually a collective property. There is a conception of collective property in Islam, for example, and that's why that's one of the basis. And that collective property belongs to everyone, Muslims and non-Muslims who live in that entity, that country, or that property, and it cannot be used without their consultation. So that forms the basis of Islamic basis of, for example, consulting people before and taking their permission before using the collective properties. But this doesn't happen in capitalism because the property actually belongs to an abstract entity. Called the state, and not to the collection of its member, which are called citizen. And that make that state by its very nature a capitalist state, in the sense that because property in capitalism, there's no private property, strictly speaking, in capitalism, because property belongs to capital, and different people use it, and those who can accumulate that capital are eligible to use it more than others. But capital is not owned by anyone, or property is not owned by anyone in capitalism. It actually owns everybody. So capital is as abstract as the modern states, and that's why modern states and capitalism are joined at the hip, so to speak. So so as a democracy, sovereignty belongs to actually the collection of members, at least in principle. And state, I guess, reflects that sovereignty, but it belongs to each and every member. But property doesn't belong to each and every member. It only belongs to the state as an abstract entity. So that's why there's no consultation on the dispensation of the property, but there's a consultation on the dispensation of sovereignty, for example, or political matters. Economic matters are more and more relegated to the expertise, to the experts, to the economists, etc., who are the custodians of, and the managers and the capitalists who are the custodians of the capital. So I think that's an interesting point. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so I think we just stop here, and we'll say we will start next time from here. And we'll see if we have to go back or not, but for now we'll stop here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلق محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وازواجه وذريته اجمعين. السلام عليكم.